Sarah, the Metal Theologian. And yeah, I figured I'm going to do a special video to show my Black Friday vinyls that I scored. So yeah, I went out for Black Friday this year for, you know, Record Store Day minus, and it's a pretty impressive quality. You're going to be blown away. First things first, though, and yeah, soda's part of that, but there's something else too. I just scored this thing a couple days ago. Actually, I got this from the guy. I'd heard of this guy, maybe from someone in a YouTube video or something like that. But he wasn't really on my radar until pretty recently. So I sort of semi-blind bought this because it seemed like something I dig and I didn't want to sort of spoil it. And this record absolutely blew my fucking mind. This Expansion by Denny Zeitlin, who I guess was a psychiatrist in San Francisco at the same time as he was a professional jazz musician. I don't know how the hell he pulled that off. But this is a 3-piece record. It's him on all those electronics with a drummer and someone else doing other electronics and shit. Actually, a bass player and a drummer who also does some electronics. But just listen to this shit. It's like all this synthy shit that's fucking far out. But it has a groove, it swings, and it really has a jazz feel to it. It's really legitimate. When this thing came in the mail, and since I got it directly from him too, I had that little dedication, which is kind of nice. But I mean, there's still a few of my favorite jazz musicians that are still alive. It's kind of an honor, you know. In fact, the only people I can think of who I've interacted with personally are now Denny Zeitlin and then Milo Fine, whom I talked about in the past too. Whom I also love dearly. But anyway, oh, I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Just that this is like my new discovery. This is my discovery of the week. Denny Zeitlin. I'm fucking completely blown away by this shit. I'm going to be grabbing some more records. I'm trying to adjust this fucking thing. And probably talking about it as I, you know, get into them. I've sampled a little bit of stuff here and there. And there have definitely been different phases. You know, some of the earlier stuff in the late 60s was more acoustic. And this 70s stuff is what's really grabbing me. I listened to some of the other ones too, a little bit. There isn't a lot on YouTube, but what I've heard here and there just blows my mind. The electronics, I'm all over. Alright, so anyway, that's kind of the big thing. I'm turn it off right now. I've kind of done my job. But I'm pretty sure I talked about this one a long time ago, like a couple of years ago maybe. But I really like the Swamp Pop. And my brother was in town for Thanksgiving with... And he wanted to get some cream soda. We ended up not drinking these, but there's a fucking great cream soda. So I'm going to talk about it anyway, and that's the Swamp Pop Praline Cream Soda. Now, as some of you may recall, the Noble Cane Cola is actually my very favorite cola. Shit, man. This opener here is great, but it's a little bit awkward from this angle. Alright, there we go. Yeah, the Noble Cane Cola is the shit. This isn't quite at that level, but this is a damn fine cream soda too. And the praline thing is just insane. God, this is good. Here's an interesting little fun fact about the Metal Theologian. See, because of the pecans, because of the praline thing. Where I live right now used to be all pecan trees. The old guys told me that. Something about South Carolina versus California, man. There are old guys who can tell you stories about how the place has changed. And that there's some of that in California too, if you get out in the country. But in San Francisco, where I spent most of my time out there, you know, it's a lot more transient. You know, I mean, yeah, I can talk about things I remember in that, but it's not like the sort of decades of history in the same way. You know, there'll be exceptions every so often. You'll run into someone, but rarely. Anyway, this soda rules. It's fucking fantastic. It's really a cream soda with some praline flavor. I don't know what to say beyond that. It's very sweet. It's just fucking awesome. I couldn't drink these all the time, man, but when I do, I enjoy the hell out of it. Alright, so I'm sure you're all waiting to see though what my Record Store Day Black Friday haul was. So let's get started on that. So first of all, this is probably going to surprise absolutely no one. I grabbed this one. The Albert Ayler with Don Cherry. That's a really cool record. Kind of I haven't been like in Albert Eiler mode lately, so I'm gonna have to come back to this record at some point when I'm like really in that headspace to really fully absorb this. But it's definitely sort of classic sound. In fact, it's given when this was recorded, '64, it's a lot more fully developed than I expected. I was expecting it to be a little bit more similar to My Name Is Albert Eiler, but this is really as fully realized almost as ESP records. Just great sound. Don Cherry's great too. He doesn't sound, well, no, he sounds fucking great too. Never mind what I was going to say. But it's with them, it's with Gary Peacock and Sonny Murray. All-star lineup, man. You can't beat this. So of course I had to grab this. And it's a Freedom recording to boot. So I got that, and then I sort of went to the other end of the spectrum. Not completely, but I grabbed this one, which actually wasn't a record store day release, but the records were on sale, and I'd kind of been meaning to pick this up for a long time. And I gotta tell you, man, I loved this record. I liked it a lot when I used to have it on CD, and then I kind of didn't have it for a long time. I listened to it. I like it just as much as ever, maybe even more. But just a fantastic record, man. Like the richness of the textures, you know what I mean? The sounds of, like, you know, the French horn and some of the other stuff, the tuba that you don't often hear in jazz. It's just a really cool sound, and it's hitting me at a good time too, because I've kind of been in a phase with where I've been listening to a lot of like the cool jazz, like the West Coast stuff. So like I'm a lot more sort of in the right headspace for Lee Konitz's sound than I might have been at other times. And then Jerry Mulligan I love anyway. Yeah. So yeah, and that's it. That's what I got. Those are my vinyls. They only had one release that I gave the slightest fuck about. I was going through the list going, God damn, man. Either I'm too old, or this is actually just all shit. With a sprinkling of things that I already have. But mostly, even more than that, the list just looked to me like records that just felt like exploitation records. You know what I mean? Like, these like different comps of just like some unreleased show or something like that by these acts that, you know, kind of moderately interested. Even the Sun Ra shit I didn't really care about. So, yeah, and you know, again, I'm not going to talk it down. I mean, I'll stand by. A couple of years ago, I made a video which was kind of like my opinion on Record Store Day, and I'll stand by everything I said in there. You know, if you're a collector, it's not for you. That's the upshot. It's for the yahoos, and it's fine. You know what I mean? They're keeping record stores in business, and great. You know. But they're not catering to someone with my taste, or yours probably, if you're watching this. Alright, so anyway, like I said, let's do a little bit sort of the cool jazz stuff. And much to my surprise, I've been completely obsessed with... Oh, where is it? Where's my visual aid here? Dave Brubeck. You know, I used to think Dave Brubeck sucked. When I first got into jazz, I thought Dave Brubeck was just bullshit. I was just like noodly around, just like fucking boring shit. But you know what actually made me reconsider was learning that Cecil Taylor had been kind of a Brubeck fan. In fact, apparently he was a pretty big fan, but he sort of turned away from it a little bit later on for, I don't know, Cecil Taylor seems like kind of a character anyway. Awesome. I love Cecil Taylor. Enough that if he says, yeah, Dave Brubeck actually really kind of influenced me a lot, makes me go, I better go listen to those fucking Brubeck records again. Anyway, this is a cool one. I don't like this one as much as Time Out. Hate to pull out the most obvious one, but that is still my favorite of what I have, which isn't very much. But, you know, I'm looking to investigate a little bit deeper and see what else I find. This shit's just so, it's, on one level it's really listenable and it's really easy to sort of take in, which in a way is what put me off in the past. But if you're listening to it a little bit more deeply, there's all sorts of weird shit going on. I mean, there's been so much said about the shit on, you know, like Take 5 and all that stuff, and, you know, Rondo Alaturk with the weird time signatures and everything that he was doing. And, you know, I'm just enough of a sort of music theory geek that, you know, I do kind of get off on that sort of thing to a certain degree. But, I don't know, man. I just really like the feeling. I like the sound. It's the headspace that I've been in. Lately, I've been reevaluating a lot of people who I don't even have records by, like Zoot Sims, and I don't have a whole lot of Lee Konitz. I don't have it pulled out right now anyway, but Jerry Mulligan, obviously. Yeah, and just sort of reassessing some of this stuff that I kind of gave short shrift to for the most part in the past. Chet Baker is another one too. I think I have like 1 or 2 Chet Baker records, which I should probably pull out because I probably really dig them right now. Let's see, just for chuckles since they're right next to me. Yeah, see, they're right next to... See, Chet Baker's between Derek Bailey and Gato Barbieri, both of whom have gotten a lot more play in my house than Chet. But yeah, I have this one and this one. I'm not going to say anything about either, because I haven't played them in years, and I might not have been in the right headspace. I'll tell you, I still don't give a shit about Chet singing, because I'm not really into vocal jazz particularly, but he's a fantastic trumpet player. I really like his tone. I like his shit with Jerry Mulligan. In fact, let me bust something out real quick, too, that I forgot about. I don't think I've ever shown this before. I looked into a really cool piece, God, a while ago now. There it is. Yeah, I'll have to listen to this again too because I haven't played it forever. But this is actually the only thing that I have with you know, sort of the classic Jerry Mulligan quartet. But check this out. This is like an old 10-inch. You know, this is like a no shit Pacific Jazz original. Didn't even have an inner in it. I had to like stick this thing in myself. And that color, it's obviously for 78s, right? But let me pull this out so you can enjoy the cover with me. Yeah, the thing doesn't quite fit in the sleeve right. That's why I have it out like that. Yeah, but look at this thing. So you got Jerry Mulligan, Chet Baker, Chico Hamilton, who I didn't know went back this far. I mean, I knew he wasn't exactly a spring chicken, but I didn't know he was this old. Yeah, Pacific Jazz LP1. That's an LP by virtue of the fact that it has 8 songs on it, which is actually kind of a lot for a jazz album. Anyway, yeah, this just sort of fell into my lap. I don't know if I really deserve this record, but maybe I'll prove myself worthy of it now because I've been so into that sound. So let's see, what else have I been listening to? Here's a record I pulled out again that I hadn't played in a long time. Jerome Richardson. I just sort of found this thing in the collection. I was like, I haven't played this forever. It's on the New Jazz imprint. I remember not liking it much, but I wasn't really sure what I thought of it. Man, I put it on again, and I think it's fucking boring. This is just a lame record. I'm showing this just partially by way of saying that I don't like everything, you know? I don't know if there's anything specific I can pinpoint about this record. I just think it's fucking boring, you know? I was like, okay, I'm in a sort of mood for sort of more mellow stuff, you know? It doesn't have to be Eric Dolphy or something to grab me, but I don't know. This didn't make an impression at all. I thought it sucked. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on Jerome. Now, Bill Evans I've been listening to again, too, right? Bill Evans is awesome. This is almost different aesthetic because his sound's even richer than Brubeck's for my money, you know what I mean? At least more sort of impressionistic, you know. It's hard to compare the two because they kind of have a lot in common, but Bill Evans almost feels like a more fully realized Brubeck. Like Brubeck is sort of sketching these broader outlines, and Bill Evans kind of fills them in, you know. It's sort of how it seems like in my mind, and it's not to imply that Brubeck is, you know, less than, because I don't mean it that way. Just more, oh shit, I don't know, I already said it. Classic. I put this on the other day, actually last night, it blew me away. But I'd forgotten how good this fucking record is, man. Miles Davis. I almost said you can't go wrong. You can. You know, I listened to part of Sketches of Spain earlier today, and I don't know, man. I want to like that record more than I actually do, I have to say. And that whole, like, Gil Evans phase that he went through, there's a part of me that appreciates it on some level, but I don't know. I just don't find that shit all that listenable, really. You know, Sketches of Spain, it's, yeah, I don't know. Maybe someday. It's not really for me though. It's one of those weird. It's one of those records that I actually find myself liking less with time. You know. I've still been doing the Finnish fusion thing. So this is sort of I've been balancing my I keep wanting to say smooth jazz, but that's so insulting, man. I don't want to use such a pejorative term. My cool jazz, I've still been balancing out with shit like Eero Koistvonen. This awesome fusion shit right there. This was supposed to balance it out, but I just kind of didn't dig this. I pulled it out because it's one of the few black jazz records I have, and I didn't like it when I got it. And I still, it's nice, but I just don't really dig the vocal jazz thing. It's as simple as that. This is really borderline. This is so fusion. I'm not even sure if I should file this into jazz or rock. Yeah, Jukka Tolvanen from Tasavallan Presidenti. I think everyone knows who Jukka Tolvanen is, but sometimes these sentences come out of my mouth and they sound ridiculous to me. There's probably a fuckload of people have no idea who Jukka Tolvanen is. But he's a hell of a guitar player. Just like Eero Koistvonen or Koivistoinen is a hell of a sax player. And they're great. Here's another one that people have shown that I finally got my hands on a copy of. It's John Gordon Erotica Suite, which was originally a Strata East. Just a really cool record. It's not as far out as I would have expected from the whole sort of Strata East thing. It's but it feels really earnest, It's just a really enjoyable record. And it's one of those records that leaves you wanting more, too. It's not that it's so short. It's not like it's a 25-minute album or anything like that. But, I put it on, I listen to it, I'm enjoying it. Next thing I know, it's over. I'm like, wow, So, I have talked in the past about how there are a couple of records, a couple very few records, that seem to really sort of bridge the gap between the hard bop and the free jazz more than any others. Specifically, what I mean is bands where you hear, or records where you hear the band playing in a hard bop idiom with this one specific musician really stretching out and going for the free shit. And the two that come to mind for me are My Name is Albert Eiler and Jazz Advance by Cecil Taylor, which are sort of spiritual brothers in my mind. Well, this isn't quite at the same level, but this is kind of close. Yeah, this is 1961, so it's pretty early. Yeah, but this with Buell Neidlinger, fucking Archie Sheppman, Roswell Rudd. I mean, there are actually some guys who, went on to do other things, or, more free shit. But, I don't know, I really dig the sound on this, man. It's not really free, If you're used to Cecil Taylor and Archie Shepp, this is not what you're going to expect. But it's one of those sort of transitional records, I wouldn't quite put it there with Jazz Advance as far as sort of embodying that bridge, if that makes sense. I think I'm mixing my metaphors. But, yeah, but I love it. Here's one that's a lot freer than I expected. This is a recent reissue that I was very happy to see. A lot of the Sun Ra reissues, I've been a little bit frustrated with them because, if you've been watching for any length of time, you know that I'm obsessed with Sun Ra. I have coming up on 100 of his records over there, so there you go, right? But there are a few key ones that still I haven't seen reissued, like notably When Angels Speak of Love. It's like the only 60s one that hasn't seen a reissue, as far as shit that actually came out in the 60s originally. And there are some key 70s ones, like the Space Probe, or from the 80s even. I think it might be late 70s, but I'd love to see a reissue of what's it called? God is Greater Than Love Could Ever Be, or something like that. But anyway, this is actually originally from 76, but it was recorded in 64, and this is actually Sun Ra with Pharoah Sanders and Black Harold. I don't know who Black Harold is, but Pharoah Sanders, obviously, I do. I know there are the stories about how he moved to New York from Little Rock, and his name was Pharoah, and he hooked up with Sun Ra, who gave him a place to stay and encouraged him to call himself Pharaoh and shit. And then he eventually went off and became his own man, of course, right? But this is a record with Sun Ra, and there's the man right there. And I was surprised by how fully developed Pharaoh's tone sounds on this. It is really, I mostly expected, I was thinking, just, I guess he didn't get off the boat. He just got off the bus, you know what I mean? He'd probably just arrived in New York when they made this stuff, you know. I figured it would probably sound pretty much like, I don't know, I don't want to say Charlie Parker or something like that, right? But like, you know, he probably hadn't really found his voice yet. And to a certain degree that's true, but he's a lot closer on this record than I expected. First of all, this record is a lot freer than I expected it to sound, which I suppose isn't that surprising because it's kind of close chronologically to the heliocentric Worlds of Sun Ra records. But it's a lot further out than I expected. But Pharoah sounds great on that record, man. He really does. And this is coming from someone who's not the biggest Pharoah Sanders fan in the world, although he's been growing on me lately, I have to say. I'm sort of appreciating him more and more with time. You know, one record I really like a lot is the one with John Coltrane live in Seattle, which is kind of just the two of them wailing the whole time. It's fucking great. Alright, well, I've been at it for about 20 minutes, which is kind of my sweet spot. I don't like these things to get too long. But just real quick. Speaking of the smooth shit, there's another one I just listened to earlier today. I love Lenny Tristano, man. Same deal. Oh, it's not the same deal, because, you know, these guys all have their own voices. Tristano and Brubeck and, you know, Bill Evans and whoever else. But you can sit and just sort of enjoy this as background music, which, you know, you're kind of wasting the, well, whatever, you're wasting the record life, I suppose. But if you sit there and really listen to it, you can sort of listen into it and hear the shit that he's doing. And, you know, Lenny was really an innovative guy, but the innovations were so subtle and so understated in his records that I think, I mean, I know that people, well, there have been some mixed opinions. It seems like people pretty much are pro Lenny Tristano anymore. I know there was some controversy around at the time as whether it was bullshit or awesome, but to me, it's awesome if you listen closely enough to it. And from that standpoint, it's a challenging record, but it's deceptive because this is such a smooth and relaxing, and not relaxing and smooth, those are the wrong words, but it's such a gentle record in a way. His sound is so, not subdued, but still in a way, that the great stuff going on here can go right by you if you're not paying attention. So yeah, I think I will leave it there. I'm just going to say two more things. First of all, okay, here's another Pharoah Sanders one with Leon Thomas that I actually like. I was playing this when my mom was in town, and she was talking about how fucking Leon Thomas, not that she knew who it was, but she was talking about how Leon Thomas sounded like Tarzan or something. I just wanted to tell her to fuck off. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's the same shit as when I was listening to metal in my teens. Not to say anything bad about metal, right? But I'm fucking 45 years old and mom still comes around and bitches about my music. So if you're watching this and you're 19 and your parents don't like your music, that's fine, man. You're doing something right. I might think your music sucks too, frankly, but that's good. If I liked your music in a way, I feel like I was taking something away from you. And the other thing, I pulled it out again, man. It's kind of my roots. Fucking got blown away by the video of this when it came out, and I still come back to this record, man. I love Herbie Hancock anyway, but this record just has a special place in my heart. So, there we go. That's what I've got to say today. And, yeah, and that's it. I'm going to finish my soda and probably crash out pretty soon. Thanks for watching.